Fine, I'll handle it. The words echoed through the Galactic Council chamber like a shockwave. Delegates from across the galaxy sat in stunned silence, some blinking their myriad eyes in sync, others twitching their mandibles in disbelief. This assembly had convened to address a conundrum that had plagued and, to be blunt, terrified the galaxy for years: the human problem. Humans were an anomaly. They lacked the brute strength of the Truic, the advanced weaponry of the Zarthans, or the tactical mastery of the Dracs. Their ships, while competent, were far from cutting edge. Yet somehow, these peculiar beings from a modest blue planet not only survived but thrived under conditions that would crush other species. The Council's latest meeting focused on escalating tensions at the human frontier. A coalition of Dracs, Zarthans, and Truic had been conducting raids on human outposts, expecting to provoke either surrender, retreat, or at the very least, negotiations. But humans had shown no signs of either. A tall, thin alien with a gelatinous head, envoy Fricks of the Unified Alliance, broke the silence. "Captain Lyons," he hissed, his thin voice unnaturally clear in the vast chamber. "Your species has repeatedly refused assistance, diplomacy, or compliance with Galactic Council protocols. Our suggestion: a diplomatic withdrawal." In the center of the room, Captain Elias Lyons stood unarmed, his posture steady. He chuckled, a sound foreign and unsettling to the Council. Clasping his hands behind his back, he replied, "Call it what you want, envoy, but where I'm from, when someone disrespects our borders, we don't talk. We don't call for help. We handle it ourselves. So here's the deal. We're done negotiating. You think we're weak? Fine. I'll show you what weak really looks like." Before anyone could respond, Lyons turned and left the chamber. Shortly after, humanity transmitted a terse message back to the Council: stand down, or face the consequences. The message was ignored. In the following weeks, the galaxy prepared for what was expected to be a short-lived conflict. The combined might of the most advanced empires would surely crush the outnumbered and outgunned humans. But the war that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. It started subtly. Drac scout ships patrolling human territory began vanishing without explanation. At first, their command dismissed the losses as minor sabotage or communication glitches. But as the disappearances grew and retrieval missions failed, concern turned to alarm. Then the Zarthans encountered a new horror. Their technologically superior fleets found their weapons malfunctioning inexplicably. Ships engaging humans were struck by immense EMP waves, leaving even the most advanced destroyers powerless. The Truic, ever reliant on brute force, launched relentless waves of ground assaults. For every platoon that landed, a human sniper or commando seemed to be waiting, emerging like ghosts to strike with precision. The humans fought with a blend of audacity and ingenuity, adapting to alien strategies faster than any AI could calculate. When the Zarthans employed structured formations, humans countered with guerrilla warfare, launching ambushes in impossible locations. Attempts to blockade human systems were met with surgical strikes that crippled command ships and supply lines. In his command tent, Commander Rockvac of the Truic Empire slammed a fist against a holographic map, his frustration echoing. "How are they doing this?" he growled, glaring at his officers. "We have tripled their firepower, yet they keep tearing through our lines." His officers exchanged uneasy glances, unaccustomed to their leader's visible frustration. "They're exploiting psychological warfare," Sir, a younger officer, muttered, "setting traps, using terrain, and, whatever they're doing, it's rattling our men." Rockvac snarled. "They're just humans. Explain to me why we can't crush them." Silence fell. No one had an answer. Despite their superior resources, the coalition found themselves on the back foot. Reports suggested humans thrived under conditions that would devastate others' scarce resources, hostile environments, and overwhelming odds. The Galactic Council watched in confusion and mounting concern as the war escalated. At a council session, a Zarthan commander vented his frustrations. "Human assault squads adapt faster than our AI. Their tactics are erratic and disturbingly effective. Our models can't predict them. Envoy Fricks, ever pragmatic, rubbed his gelatinous head. Then adjust your tactics. The Zarthan hissed. That's the problem, they don't fight like us. Their methods defy logic. Across the galaxy, one fact became clear: the humans weren't just surviving, they were winning. Their sheer unpredictability, resilience, and refusal to back down had turned the tide of the conflict, leaving the once confident empires questioning the cost of their hubris. The plan had seemed simple: engage the humans, push them back, and re-establish boundaries. But the humans ignored every diplomatic overture, evaded every ambush, and now, inexplicably, were closing in on core territories. Meanwhile, across human front lines, Captain Lyon's defiant words spread like wildfire. "Fine, I'll handle it." They weren't just a response anymore, they had become a mantra, whispered among soldiers and repeated over encrypted calls. For humanity, this wasn't just a battle. It was a statement, a declaration of pride. Back on Earth, strategists observed the chaos with quiet satisfaction. The humans weren't fighting blindly, every move was calculated, every countermeasure precise. Their tactics left alien forces reeling, disoriented, and demoralized. On the ground, human soldiers fought with unyielding determination, fully aware that the galaxy was watching. The Galactic Council scrambled for control, deploying more fleets and even hiring mercenaries, an unprecedented move. Yet the reports from the front lines grew increasingly disturbing. Humans weren't just surviving, they were adapting in real time, shifting strategies with a fluidity that defied comprehension. In a dimly lit war room, Counselor Dero, a high-ranking Drex strategist, sat staring grimly at a holographic map riddled with red markers of defeat. "This wasn't supposed to happen," he muttered, his voice heavy with disbelief. Across the table, Zarthan Admiral Glix clicked his multifaceted eyes in agitation. "Their strength isn't in numbers or technology," Glix said. "It's their unpredictability. It defies every model we have." A younger Drex officer hesitated before adding, "Sir, their ground forces. They're not showing any signs of exhaustion. They don't just fight, they learn. They adjust strategies mid-battle." He paused, swallowing hard. "It's almost as if they're enjoying it," Glix finished darkly. "Every species has a limit, a point where they falter. Humans don't seem to have one. They treat war itself as an advantage." Unbeknownst to the Council, Earth's leaders had assembled teams of military strategists, experimental psychologists, and behavioral analysts. These teams worked tirelessly, studying alien communication patterns, instincts, and decision-making processes. They devised tactics to exploit weaknesses no traditional battlefield strategy could. The humans were fighting a war the galaxy had never seen: psychological, relentless, and disturbingly effective. Alien commanders found supply lines severed in unexpected places. Ambushes were set where no threat had been anticipated, and every counterattack was met with an entirely new strategy. The alien forces, accustomed to predictable warfare, were stretched thin, their lines dismantled piece by piece. Deep within Truic territory, Captain Lyons led a small recon squad under the cover of darkness. They were only 12 strong, a fraction of the garrison stationed nearby, but they moved with precision, exploiting the enemy's blind spots. Over secure comms, Lyons briefed his team with calm efficiency. "On my mark," he whispered, signaling his soldiers. They moved like shadows, disabling sentries and planting devices that jammed communications. "Captain," one of his men whispered over the comm. "Drex reinforcements incoming. They're coordinating with the Truic. Crossfire strategy likely." Lyons grinned. "Perfect. Let them think they have us pinned. They're about to learn why humans play chess, not checkers." The trap was sprung. Alien forces converged on the clearing, unaware of the explosives and jamming devices that awaited them. In moments, chaos erupted, communications failed, traps detonated, and Lyons' team systematically dismantled the bewildered troops. The aftermath was catastrophic. Reports to the Council detailed devastating losses: Truic commanders ambushed, Zarthan fighters downed in what should have been secure territory. It became evident that the humans weren't retreating, they were toying with their enemies. At the Galactic Council headquarters, Envoy Frix vibrated with frustration as he addressed the assembly. "What are they doing?" he asked, his voice trembling. "Are they playing with us?" "Playing," Counselor Dero echoed bitterly. "To them, this might be a game. To us, it's extinction. They're dismantling us piece by piece." Counselor Zora, a veteran of ground combat, stepped forward, his voice grim. "Humans don't conquer with numbers. They conquer with ideas, with relentless, maddening creativity that forces us to react instead of attack. This isn't war as we know it." He paused, searching for the right words. "This is something else entirely." The council chamber was suffused with an uneasy silence as Counselor Zora finally spoke, his voice trembling. "It's not just war," he said, his gaze fixed on the floor. "It's an invasion of the mind." The words struck deep, and the chamber was overwhelmed by a thick, oppressive quiet. For the first time, the Galactic Council began to grasp the true nature of the humans' tactics. They weren't just breaking bodies, they were dismantling wills, instilling fear, and shattering the resolve of their enemies. The humans weren't stopping, and their approach was unlike anything the galaxy had ever witnessed. On the front lines, human soldiers received new orders: no retreat, no surrender, only absolute disruption. Earth's military command had shifted objectives. It wasn't enough to defend their borders, every alien incursion would now face such devastating consequences that the galaxy would never dare another attempt. The new strategy played out with merciless precision. Alien forces found their supply chains severed, their camps infiltrated, and their morale systematically dismantled. Every encounter became a psychological gauntlet. Camps heard distant engines roaring 1 minute, felt the tremors of approaching tanks the next, only for it all to vanish into an eerie silence. Alien soldiers sat in tense anticipation, unable to tell if the next attack was real or a phantom. On war-torn planets, the humans unleashed psychological warfare on an unprecedented scale. Strange lights flickered across barren plains at night. Loudspeakers blared incomprehensible messages in distorted alien languages, and realistic-looking decoys drew enemy fire, fostering paranoia and infighting. The constant uncertainty frayed nerves until entire battalions surrendered without a fight, desperate to escape the torment. The surrender report spread quickly. Alien troops abandoned posts, left equipment behind, and fled, no longer able to withstand the relentless human advance. The term Death World species, once a curiosity, became a terrifying reality. For the Galactic Council, the horror was only beginning. In desperation, Counselor Dero proposed another treaty. "We should negotiate," he said, voice heavy with resignation. "Offer terms that favor the humans," but his suggestion was met with silence. Envoy Frix, his gelatinous form trembling, whispered, "If we surrender now, what hope is left? They'll see us as weak. They'll know we're divided. They'll..." Before he could finish, the chamber doors slid open. A young Drex officer entered, visibly shaken, and handed Dero a datapad. The counselor scanned it, his face shifting from anger to dread. When he finally spoke, his voice was hollow. "They don't want our surrender," Dero said, his tone bleak. "They don't want our territory. They want something else." "What?" Frix asked, his voice barely audible. Dero looked up, his eyes haunted. "They want us to remember. To never forget what happens when we challenge a human, and they say, 'Fine, I'll handle it.'" Across the galaxy, human forces continued to advance. Reports of shadow ships and invisible commandos fueled alien paranoia. Alien commanders couldn't sleep, haunted by stories of ambushes and traps. Meanwhile, Captain Lyons remained a symbol of humanity's unyielding spirit. His words had transcended the battlefield, becoming a rallying cry for humans and a chilling echo for their enemies. In a final bid to stop the chaos, Counselor Dero called an emergency meeting. The council reviewed footage of human strikes, each one a masterclass in adaptability and precision. Fleet after fleet was lost, entire strategies dismantled. "They're not just breaking our defenses," Fricks muttered. "They're breaking us." As if summoned by their despair, a transmission flickered to life. Captain Lyons appeared on screen, his face calm yet unyielding. His voice cut through the chamber like steel. To the Galactic Council he began, "We're done negotiating. Withdraw all forces from human space immediately, or face the consequences. This isn't a request. It's your last warning." When the transmission ended, the chamber descended into chaos. Some counselors, too proud to admit defeat, argued for one last stand. Others, shaken by the sheer scale of human resistance, called for immediate retreat. The council fractured, each member grappling with the realization of their failure. Within days, orders were sent to alien fleets to withdraw from human territory. For the first time in history, the Galactic Council had accepted defeat. Humanity's victory was more than a triumph, it was a reckoning. On Earth, the news of the retreat was met with celebrations. Yet for humanity, this was just the beginning. They had proven themselves not just survivors, but a force to be reckoned with, a species that demanded respect. In every human city, a renewed sense of pride flourished. The galaxy had learned an unforgettable truth: Earth was no longer a world to underestimate. Humanity had faced the galaxy's might and prevailed. They weren't conquerors or invaders, they were defenders, survivors who thrived under impossible odds. And as the stars awaited their next chapter, one thing was certain: whatever lay beyond, humanity would meet it with unrelenting spirit, a spirit no other species could match. The Galactic Council's withdrawal marked the end of open hostilities, but the scars left behind stretched far beyond the battlefields. On the alien worlds that had dared challenge humanity, a somber silence replaced the prideful boasts of conquest. For the first time, species that once considered themselves invincible now viewed humans with a mix of fear, awe, and reluctant respect. Back on Earth, however, there was no revelry among the leadership. Humanity had achieved a hard-fought victory, but its cost weighed heavily. Cities fortified their borders, industries shifted focus to defense production, and strategists prepared for the inevitable: the galaxy wouldn't remain quiet forever. In the grand chamber of the Galactic Council, the mood was grim. Counselor Zara, still haunted by the aftermath, addressed the assembly. "Let us not deceive ourselves," he began, his deep voice carrying across the room. "This retreat was no act of mercy. Humanity allowed us to leave because it serves their purpose. They have demonstrated their strength not to conquer, but to warn us." Envoy Fricks, still quivering from the humiliation of defeat, spoke up. "And what are we to do now? Wait for them to retaliate? Or worse, expand?" A heated debate ensued. Some argued for covert operations to study humanity further, while others suggested a more audacious plan: rebuilding alliances to outmatch them in the future. Counselor Dero, now scarred from sleepless nights and mounting pressure, slammed his fist on the table. "We cannot afford another war." "Not now, not ever," he growled. "Our very survival depends on finding a way to coexist. But the humans, they must know their place." The suggestion hung in the air, unspoken but understood. If humanity wouldn't seek expansion, the Council would have to ensure they stayed confined to their systems.